Hey guys, enter the stars. We're going to let a few more people pop into this live broadcast. This is last minute, but found some bombshell, groundbreaking information and some updates on the whole Prince saga, the whole Prince death, and how that relates back to the Queen of England. Now, I want to thank the subscriber who provided me with the information to look into this. And when I began to dig deeper, I could not believe what I was uncovering. Now, we're going to let a few more folks get in here and then we'll get started. But basically, at this point, I'm going to lead in with the bombshell. And that is, and I will be repeating myself as people come in to the Hangout. Basically, the chef that was Prince's personal chef, who also owned many restaurants in the area called the People's Organic, is now reporting that Prince had throat and stomach issues. This was Prince's personal chef. Now, not only was this Prince's personal chef, but he has close associations with the Crown of England. Now we're looking and digging deeper. For any of you that are in the chat right now, we got John, Gary, Jay Roberts, Run the Christ, I Do All, Mr. 007, Barber. For any of you that do live in the Minnesota area and are familiar with the People's Organic Coffee and Wine Cafe, we're trying to find the news feed, and it's probably associated with WCCO, the local station, right around 2011, in which they mention that the chef that opened up the Adena branch, possibly, was actually the chef for the Queen of England. Now, we know how the mainstream media works. They will scrub information before we can gather the evidence. But this is the bombshell, that the Queen of England had a personal chef that also was the personal chef of Prince. Now, I'm going to be providing documentation for the information and evidence that we do have. But we cannot find that news broadcast, that local news broadcast that actually states that this owner of these restaurants or someone affiliated with the restaurants, maybe it was the baker. We're going to show you evidence on that. Was the personal baker or the personal chef for the Queen of England. Now, why is this important? Because Prince died on her birthday. Prince died on the Queen of England's birthday. Now, this is shocking because here is the website for the People's Organic. Now, this is in the Minneapolis area, okay? I think there's like 6 stores. We're going to pull, here's all the menus for all the stores. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 menus, so there's 7 stores. Now, when you pull up these menus, this is unbelievable. All of these menus, I'll let you see for yourself. Here's the menus here. Calhoun menu. Let's take a look. Now, what are we doing here? We're piecing together evidence because we know that the mainstream media does not tell us the truth. And if you look here, all of these items on all of these menus are in purple. I'll say that again. All of the items on all of these stores' menus are all in purple. We'll go through the first 3 or 4, so you know I'm not making this up. Here's item number 2. Everything's in purple. Very different looking menus, but everything's in purple. Of course, Prince. It's all about the purple rain, right? But it gets more cryptic because not only are all of the menus items in purple across all these menus, I'm going to show you something else. Let's scroll down here. I'll show you one more menu so that we can confirm this. We just looked at 3 menus so far. Let's look at the Minnetonka menu. Again, everything's in purple. So now that we've established that, I'm going to go back here and show you, where is it at? The Queen Elizabeth Flummery, a small-scale dessert at the People's Organic. Now remember, this chef was the personal chef to Prince. Here he is. Prince's long-term chef said the singer fought throat and stomach pains recently. Like, how could he even admit that when he's associated with the Queen of England, whose birthday was the same day that Prince died? That's like suicide. I mean, talk about being under investigation. But as we know, the investigations never happen. We, the little people, are left to piece together what really happened. Sometimes I don't even know why I care. It's to prove the lie. It's to prove that they're liars. Okay? The people in control are liars. In other words, you can't believe what you see in the mainstream media. Now, this is the guy here. His name is Ray Roberts. Okay? Now, watch this. It says, on stage, Prince was still captivating audiences at recent performances. But off stage, something was different. He began wanting meals that were easier to digest, was fighting off waves of sore throats and frequent upset stomachs. The musician's personal chef told the Associated Press. A law enforcement official has told the AP that investigators are looking into whether Prince, who was found dead at his home, died from an overdose and whether a doctor was prescribing him drugs in the weeks beforehand. The official has been briefed on the investigation and spoke on condition of anonymity. Ray Roberts, who cooked for Prince nearly every day for almost 3 years, said in an interview that wasn't the man he saw nearly every night, not even a hint, not at all. But Roberts did start noticing changes in Prince's diet. He was eating less and drinking less water and looked like he was losing weight. Now, I don't want to jump to the conclusion that he was poisoned. But if it looks like a duck and walks like a duck, it may be a duck. Okay. Now you're probably asking, where's the proof of the link to Britain? Well, we're going off the memory of a subscriber who's probably trying to track down this news broadcast, because this will be the nail in the coffin, so to speak. Let's see here. Let's go back here. Here is the British Association. Here's the People's Organic. Founder Lynn Gordon. This thing has changed hands several times, but at one point here's Ray Roberts mentioned here. Anderson also owns People's Organic locations in Minnetonka and Fargo, North Dakota. The Adena and IDS Center locations are owned by Jewel and Ray Roberts. This is Ray Roberts, the guy we just showed you. And British baker David Powell. There's the British connection, somewhat coinciding with the anecdotal evidence that we got from the subscriber that said that she was sure that she heard the local news station talk about this chef being the royal chef or cooking for the Queen of England. Okay. So we have a connection there. And of course, if I get updated information, I will definitely do another video for you guys. So this goes on. Here's the People's Organic Coffee and Wine. Now there's several locations, as I told you. We showed you how all of the menu items were in purple. Here are the menus. All of the menu items are in purple. We showed you this article where they actually made a dessert that does not appear on any of the menus. I looked through all of the menus, and this Queen Elizabeth Flummery in purple does not appear on any of the menus. This article about the People's Organic is dated. Here's the front of it here. is dated 2013. So this was 3 years ago, and they're already hinting toward what was to come. The purple dying on the Queen Elizabeth's birthday in plain sight. Now, some of you have asked me, like, how could all this be? I believe that we may be experiencing some kind of manifestation of the spiritual realm. Okay. Now, in eons past and millennia past, this kind of manifestation probably happened a lot more frequently. In fact, I know it did because we hear of all the miracles in the Bible. We hear of prophecy, prophets. We hear of all these things going on in the Bible that don't happen today, or at least we didn't think they happened. But in our search for truth, we don't give up. So, and we live our lives so that the Holy Spirit can work through us. Once evil enters your heart, the Holy Spirit cannot enter, and then you don't see and hear. But if you are trying and you love God, He will open up the Holy Spirit, and you will begin to see all these things. People ask me, how do you see these things day in and day out? Well, a lot of it's you guys. You give me tips, and all I do is dig deeper with my eyes, and I see the truth. The person that gave me this information probably had no idea that this man was Prince's personal chef. We uncovered that. So, but that person had a hint of the Holy Spirit within inside of them that helped them to reveal the truth as well. And I'll be back in the chat. I'm sure you guys have a lot of suggestions. Let me do that now. And then we'll get into Prince's last tour that was canceled. His last tour was canceled in Europe and the UK on the date of the Paris terror attacks, the very day. In other words, his tickets were supposed to go on sale the very day of the terror attacks. Now let's take a look at this. Okay, I'm just going to pop in the chat, make sure you guys are still good. Let's see, lost my job. Okay, let's get into this. This is crazy. So, this is Prince's last tour. Now, in the title of this live hangout, I said it was the Drop the Mic tour, but it's not really the Drop the Mic tour. It's the piano and microphone tour. So now we got to ask ourselves, now we understand why Prince Harry dropped the mic in the Invictus Games. And now we understand why Obama was dropping the mic and saying boom, which is also a term for a microphone that's held on a stick. Now we get what all that means, because Prince was the sacrifice. In his piano and microphone tour, he never got to the microphone in Europe, in UK, because his mic dropped out because he died. Right? Now watch this. This is crazy. This was supposed to start on February 16th, one day after Lupercalia. But look at the number of shows. Let me blow this up. And look in Oceania and the number of shows in North America, 9 and 11. And Prince died on the 111th day of the year. 9/11 has 111 days remaining in the year. So his last tour seemed to foreshadow what was to come. Now, let's write that down. Put up some notes here. 11 shows. Let's blow this up. Format. Let's go in here. And let's make this bigger. Let's go here. 11 shows. Oceania. 9 shows in, let's see here, North America. Watch this. Now, we've said many times on this program that the the Paris attacks on Friday the 13th on 11/13, we said many times that was like Paris's 9/11, right? I think I did a couple videos on that, and I explained why. There's some calendar synchronicities that place 11/13 on 9/11. I think it has to do with November being the 9th month in the Roman calendar, and that the 13th actually falls on a different day in different years, because that's basically the Hebrew New Year, which is when Christ was born. 9/11, he was born on the Hebrew New Year on 9/11, 6 BC. The Hebrew New Year fell on 9/11, but in other years, it falls on the 13th. And I think that's what we demonstrated. But let's move on with this. The piano and microphone tour. So what happened with this piano and microphone tour? Well, here it is here. This is, oh, actually, this is not it. On the day of the Paris attacks, just so you know, I'm not making this up, November 13th, 2015, it says here in this article that the ticket sales, just minutes, says minutes before they were due to go on sale this morning, were postponed. Well, the tour never kicked off in Europe. It never kicked off. From the minute that this was postponed, they're saying it was in the wake of the Paris attacks, and I agree with that. But the problem is that the tickets were supposed to go on sale the day of the attacks, as if they knew. So it was like almost like a shot across the bow. And Prince may have picked up on this. He may have been like, man, my tickets went on sale the day all this happened. This can't be a coincidence. I better look out. So this goes down. And then he ends up canceling the tour in Europe. Now, he did the tour in other parts of the world, so it wasn't just like he canceled the whole tour. He just canceled the European part of the tour. Here it is here. Here's the article announcing that it was canceled. And look at this, November 16th. Let's put that in our little thing here. 11/16 tour, European. Let's put European tour. And now you're starting to see the pattern. See this? 11/9, 9/11. See? You can't make this up. But it goes on. So, you know, they noted that he was 57 years old, of course, because he had turned 57 at the time. Cancels the European tour. They're saying that as soon as Prince's tickets went on sale, they like sold out in like minutes. So apparently he was very popular in Europe. And it just so happens that he dies on the Queen of England's birthday. Is that a coincidence with everything we just talked about? I don't know, you guys. It certainly seems fishy. Let's continue on with this. So I found a video of that chef guy. Where was it? I don't know if we should play it for copyright reasons, but now you get the gist of what is going on here. Was this some kind of retaliation because Prince snubbed the Queen? Because he snubbed her? Who knows? Here are the concerts that did play. The concerts that did play for the piano and microphone tour. Here they are here. They did play in Melbourne, Sydney, Auckland, Perth. They played in Australia, New Zealand, but then it was everything else was cut off. And then North America is where they played the rest. He played the rest of the venues. Now, this was a stripped down version of what he normally does. Normally he plays a guitar, but this was just the microphone and the piano. So definitely some clues here. Here's a percentage of tickets sold. Almost sold out in Perth Arena and Fox Theater. So these are just more clues, you guys. Why was Prince being fed by a head chef of the royal queen? And I know we've yet to conclusively determine that, but I have a feeling it will all come out in the wash eventually. Now, I want to give some shout outs to another subscriber. Hypnotic Beauty provided some coincidences and synchronicities between the lives of Michael Jackson and Prince, both being born in 1958, both being Jehovah's Witnesses. And there was many more synchronicities that she pointed out. I may do a video on that eventually. But Wilson says you should name your new channel Enter the Fish. I love it. That's great. That's awesome. Well, thanks you guys for coming in. There's not much more I have for you. I just wanted to point all that out. The purple menu, the chef, the royal chef who fed the prince. And then, of course, we saw that the Queen of England, her motif, her theme was purple during her birthday, the same day that Prince died. And we all know that they plan all this stuff months and months and months in advance. It's not like at the last minute they said, oh, change those cakes from yellow to purple. No, the cakes came out purple because they were already planned months in advance. And so, you know, you can't make this stuff up, you guys. The prince and the queen, it's all that. Now, I looked for some instances of maybe where Prince met the Queen of England, because that would be the lock, you know, to actually look and see like when he met her, if he did. But anytime I do a search on these kind of searches, of course, it comes up with all the other search results and it kind of gets drowned out. But if any of you can do any searches and find where Prince met the Queen of England, that would be gold. We would decode that and try to find out whether or not she was dropping hints about what was going to happen to him. Maybe even the date that she met him was the date he was going to die. Who knows? So Lemon Yellow says, when did he snub her? Well, we're pontificating about that because we're wondering if, you know, Prince canceled his UK tour because his tickets went on sale the day of the Paris attacks. So he probably smelled a rat. He probably thought, oh man, this is weird. This couldn't have been by accident. And at that point, the ticket, he postponed indefinitely the European leg of his concert tour in the UK, amongst other places, of course. I think Brussels was mentioned in there. There's a bunch of locations. But, you know, Prince's tickets sell out in seconds. Like, as soon as they open, they sell out. And so people loved Prince in the UK. And these people are puppets. They're told to do things. And if they do not comply, there are consequences. Okay. Why? Because they are the Pied Pipers of our reality. They control all of us through their magic, through their talent, which they're using for magic to implement different agendas. Prince's agenda was to perpetrate the transsexualism over the world because he had such strong magic. People loved him so much. They wanted to identify with him. They wanted to be like him. And so the minute you stop, you try to cut your strings from your puppet master, the puppet master just steps on you. That's kind of how it works. They need these artists to control all of us. And we're controlled by them. Look at the reaction when Prince died. People were going crazy and weren't eating and upset, couldn't go to work over someone they never met. Yes, it's sad when a soul leaves us, but that's sick. That's a whole nother level. That's not normal. That's magic. And so, you know, we're perceiving this as though maybe Prince snubbed the Queen because she's the leader of England, right? And she's like, oh, no, you don't. And then they dropped the mic on him because he had the mic and piano tour. So they dropped the mic. Okay. Of course, all this is conjecture, but we began to see the patterns. Now, Something's telling me to look up the Paris attacks and see what color. Yeah, I saw that. Cindy says, did you notice the phone battery life was 69? Yes, we did a decode on that. If you look back through my last 10 videos, you'll see the phone. And on that decode, we call that out, the year 69. Also, the 1815 adds up to 96, which is the opposite of 69. Very clear. Very, very clear. For Yahweh says, Prince once wrote a song named for Donald Trump. Interesting. So we're going to take a look at, let's see here. We're going to take a look at Paris attacks. Purple. See if anything comes up for that. Since his tickets went on sale the day of the Paris attacks. See if there's any foreshadowing. Okay. Okay, they do call out the Prince tour canceled. Okay, that was on this article is dated November 17th. Prince tour canceled. See if there's anything else for purple. Paris attacks gave the purple musings. Wandering wives. Okay, so why do we do this, you guys? We do this to help snap people out of their state of sorcery and state of magic. All of this is done to control you, take your eyes off the prize, keep you locked in the material, so that you never aspire to heaven, so that you never keep your eyes fixed on heaven, and also you succumb to the sorcery. You become weak. You become drawn in. Your life becomes full of sin because you have no defenses. But when you start to understand how they work their magic and sorcery and how they're controlling you, it's easier to have defenses against that. Okay. All right. What else do we have here? Thanks you guys all for coming in today. Good crowd. Let's read through some of these comments. Do you think there will be a new president, or is Obama the last one? I think he's the last practical president. In other words, from here on out, it's going to be the agenda of the New World Order, the agenda of the UN, the world agenda instead of the country agenda. They're going to give us all the appearances of a country, but in actuality, we're going to see all of these international policies manifest, is I believe what's going to happen from here on out. And it's going to get worse from here, you guys. There are pockets of resistance, of course, but they will work their sorcery and magic through the media and the news to try and quiet that and get everybody to capitulate. Much love to you guys. Bells 44, Callie, Buddha Girl. Thanks you guys for coming out. Kiko, Landsick. So I believe in practicality, he is the last president. But in actuality, I believe he will always be behind pulling the strings. There was something pivotal about Obama, even though he presented as a weak president. That was all just smoke and mirrors. Believe me, he has way more power than you can ever imagine. I believe he's the first reincarnated pharaoh, is what I believe he is. Born in 1961, the year that Princeton called the greatest class ever. And Obama's wife is from Princeton. She went to Princeton. Okay. The guy from Gilligan's Island who actually wrote Gilligan's Island connected Obama with Michelle. All right. And there was an episode called President Gilligan. And this goes on. I mean, this is deep, you guys. This is deep. That episode came out in 1961, I believe. But go back and look at my Gilligan's Island decodes, and it will blow your mind because all this is connected. And Obama credits this man for introducing him to Michelle. Now, since we're talking about Michelle, and I've got you guys on here, we're going to go ahead and cover this other stuff that I had set up for another time. We're going to go ahead and cover it now. Talking about carrots. And you're probably wondering, what the heck has Enter the Stars lost his mind? Why are we going to talk about carrots? Well, we're going to talk about carrots because Obama said, let's see if we can pull, do I have that pulled up here somewhere? Obama says at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, let's do a search on that. First, let's close some of these windows. Let's close this one and this one. Let's close up some of these windows, you guys. Computer is lagging. Okay, so Obama says at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, he and Michelle plan on staying around in Washington. And he brings up this weird remark. He starts talking about Michelle and carrots. Okay, anytime you hear like a weird remark from a president or from anybody for that matter who's important, and they start like saying something that you're like, you don't get, and you think, oh, someone must have got that joke. Maybe I just wasn't inside in that joke. Then you can wonder and you can understand that all of this is done by design. It's sorcery. It's part of the sorcery. Now, okay, let's look up the quote first. Let's do this right. I thought I had it pulled up. Let's see here. Let's pull it up here. Obama, White House Correspondents' Dinner. Obama, White House Correspondents' Dinner transcript. Let's take a look at this. Correspondence wrong, but Google will correct that for us, right? All right. Let's pull this down here. Here it is, full transcript. Now, this is what Obama said. Now, we're going to get into what this means because it's shocking. It's literally shocking. Let's take a look here. So here it is. We're going to do a page search on this. Carrots. Okay, let's blow this up. Let's turn that off. And jeez. Okay, you're gonna miss me when I'm gone. Okay, not really. All right, here we go. So let's pull this up here. What he was saying about Michelle and him. They're gonna stay in the White House, and then this is what he says about Michelle. If I can find it. Now we gotta search it again. Carrots. As for me and Michelle, we decided to stay in D.C. for a couple more years. Thank you. This way our youngest daughter can finish up her high school. Michelle can stay closer to her plot of carrots. She's already making plans to see them every day. Take a look. Then they show this slide. I pulled this down. And I'm looking at this going, what the heck? Okay, so first of all, Obama knows that there are conspiracy theorists who believe that Michelle is a man. Now, I don't talk about that because all that does, because it can never be proven, of course, is make us look crazy. I'd rather stick to the numbers and the synchronicities to prove to people the patterns that exist that are undeniable, which is what we've done on this channel. You watch any 5 of my videos and the synchronicities are there. So I'm looking at this, I'm going, what's behind this? So obviously she's Tom Cruise, right? From Mission Impossible, hanging on the wires. Let's take a look here. Now, this is how you decode this stuff because nothing is by accident. Even if it incidentally manifests through evil, it can still tell us something. Now, he's 53 right now. They're showing him in 2014. Obama was 53 in the year 2014 when the Freedom Tower opened, which ushered in the New World Order. Here's Michelle. She was born on January 17th, 64. This is July 3rd, and this is January 17th. Did I find anything with these dates? Maybe I did not. Now, this is what I wanted to show you. I looked up the occult meaning of the caret. And to my shock and awe, carets are associated with masculinity. Here it is here. And masculine energy as well as lust. Now, why would he use this example knowing that there are people out there that believe she's a man? I mean, never in the history of the presidency has anyone accused the first lady of being a man. This is new. It's almost like he was goofing on her, which is weird to me because they're married, right? Now, looking at this image, I mean, this is just bizarre. Look how out of place this is. This isn't even funny. It's like, what is this about? Tom Cruise is a man. You've got her planting carrots, which is a male energy, masculine energy in the occult. She's hanging from wires like a puppet, being controlled. That's how I decode this. Tending her carrots, which could represent her male consorts. If you were to read deeper into this. Now, again, I tell you guys, I don't subscribe to calling the first lady a man because that gets us nowhere. It just makes us look crazy. But I thought I would mention that because I had these pulled up and I wanted to call this out. Plant symbolism, carrots represent masculinity, lust, and there was one more thing that they represented here. You can look that up for yourself. Just type in carrot meaning occult meaning. Let's see here. We will be covering the Burning Man ritual that happens every year. We're going to link that into 9/11. We're going to do that on Sunday. Okay, we'll probably spend about 30 minutes on it. It's not going to be a long show, you guys, but hopefully everybody got the newsletter. Sent out the newsletter this morning. I think the mail list is up to like 700 people. So thanks to everybody for signing up. We also did start a new fishing channel called Central Coast or Cali Coast Fish Stories. And you see that featured on my main channel. For all you people out there that love fishing, come on over. I am going to try to do a fishing trip in the morning to Kachuma Lake to try to catch some trout, hopefully get some really good footage and have another video up for you guys this weekend on some trophy lake trout. So that'll be fun too. Okay, I'm back in the chat, you guys. Let me see. Oh, you know what I should do? Okay, let's do this. Let's go in here into this subscriber list. I'm going to put a link to the fishing channel so that you guys can check that out and go over there and subscribe. Even if you don't like fishing, go over there and subscribe or maybe share it with some friends or something. And that way we can get it going over there. Let's see here. I think it should show up in my subscriptions about me because I can't change channels right now because I'm talking to you guys. So let's pull this up. Always got a new video up. Border keepers, armed groups take U.S. patrol into their own hands. Interesting. I'll have to watch that. All right. There's me. There's us. Hey, guys. That's you. 110 watching. Cool. Let's go down here and find it. A lot of new videos up today. There's For Yahweh. Let's see here. Black Child. And getting dizzy. It's down here somewhere. Let's take a look. Here it is. Actually, let's do this. Let's pull this one up. 20 hours ago. What? Oh, here it is. Be back in there in a second, you guys. Okay, I'm going to give you a link to copy link location to the fishing channel. I'll just pop it right here in the chat. So you guys can come on over and subscribe if you haven't already. There you go. Thanks, guys. All right, so let's look in the chat here, see what's going on. Radiohead has a new video. It's called Burn the Witch. Yeah, someone sent that to me and said it was trending. We'll have to take a look at that. It's weird. You know, I cover a lot of this occult stuff. Thanks, Callie. Callie says you sound well today. Yeah, I did that fishing trip yesterday and got some sun and got some good rest last night, and I feel great. You know, it's funny. I cover some of this occult stuff, but yeah, there's some stuff that is so dark. It's so dark that I won't cover it. You guys notice that, like with David Bowie, some of his dark, really dark stuff. I was like, I'm not going to cover that. Upside down pentagrams and stuff. I think when you get that in that deep, you're just asking for trouble, you know, and it can get real dark and you get focused on that stuff. I tend to focus on the mainstream reality that that's coming into everyone's senses. And then I show them how it's all run by the enemy. Thanks, Raining Without the Rain. Just sub to the fishing channel. Thanks. Pyramid Song by Radiohead is really wonderful, says Marker 113. The Wicker Man for Human. Yes, Ozaru. Thanks for mentioning that. That's a good lead in to the show on Sunday. We will be covering the Burning Man. And the very first Burning Man that they burnt was a Wicker Man. We're going to show you guys that. I did a couple of videos on the Wicker Man because there were actually 2 Wicker Man films that came out. One with, what was that guy's name? Nicolas Cage. But then there was another one that came out in 1973. Oh, Rhonda Christ says, have you seen my Invictus vid yet? No, I'll have to go check that out. I think I'm subbed to you. So there was one that came out in 1973, right around the time the World Trade Center opened. Okay. Now here's what's crazy. That Wicker Man came out in 73. And then the very first, well, I'll save this for Sunday because this is huge. Basically, it's all linked into 9/11. The Burning Man, the Wicker Man film, all of it's linked in together, you guys. And these are the top Satanists. This is what they do. It's all about sacrifice. What they're doing is they're trying to mock God. Okay? Make no mistake. They're trying to draw attention to sacrifice that God had in his plan to try to make you doubt God and hate God and question God. Oh, well, the devil only does it because God did it first. The devil's just trying to... No. Here's the deal. The sacrifices that the Israelites made, they probably ate the animals. Have you ever heard of kosher eating, where they actually have to slaughter an animal a certain way to spare the animal from its misery? Because in taking a life, there is spiritual ramifications. Okay. There's an accounting of blood. Okay. In fear that you put into an animal and things of that nature, if you do it like with that spirit of evil, then it can actually be a really bad thing, like sacrificing an animal, like killing an animal for no reason, for instance. On my fishing video, I talked about the carp that were overtaking Kachuma Lake and that they're allowing bow hunting, and they just want you to kill the carp and throw it up on the shore. And I won't do that. Now, there were times in my life where I used to kill animals for no reason, but then you learn. Now, of course, there's some animals you can't avoid killing, like if you step on an ant, or you have to kill a spider who could bite you, or a rattlesnake or something like that, who keeps coming back, who could kill your children. But there's something different about indiscriminate killing of animals, which is why they have kosher killing of animals. Okay? They do it in a humane way. This is Jewish religion. And I believe that This is my personal belief. I don't have proof of this, but I believe that the sacrifices of the lambs and things like that, that they would have to sacrifice to God when they were in the wilderness and stuff, the Israelites in the Old Testament, I believe a lot of that, they just didn't waste it. They either burnt it or maybe they ate it. Okay. And then, of course, that sacrificial system was pointing back to Christ, who would end the sacrificial system. But guess what? What did Christ do? He said, "This is my body and this is my blood. Keep doing this in remembrance of me." So basically, every time you sit down and eat a meal, it's kind of the same thing. You're eating the meal, but instead of remembering the sacrificed animal, you're remembering Christ. Do you see how that works? Do you see how that makes so much more sense than what we're told about sacrifice and how the devil tries to justify sacrifice? But see, religion has failed us. Religion has not told us the truth. They only tell us part of the truth and then they leave us confused. We don't get the rest of the answers. So let me repeat that because this is important. The animals before Christ that were sacrificed were all pointing forward to Christ, the Lamb who would be sacrificed. That's why Jesus said, "Keep doing this in remembrance of me," which was the Passover, because he would be the new sacrifice. So then we pray. We don't necessarily have to kill something. We kill it because we can, but it's now, instead of remembering the dead animal, we remember Christ. You see how that changes everything. So after the flood, I've gotten a little, I want to talk about this briefly because there are some vegetarians out there. Big-headed Martian says no sound. Hit refresh. Oh, here, let me type it in for you so we don't miss this. Hit refresh. Okay. All right. So someone came on here onto my fishing channel, or actually on the video, and said to hook a fish is sadistic. That was their comment. My reply was, that is an antichrist comment. Why is that an antichrist comment? Because Jesus killed fish. When you take a fish out of water with a net, it dies and it's eaten. When Jesus told the disciple, "Go catch the first fish, and there will be a coin in its mouth, and we will give that to the Caesar so as not to offend him." Basically, Jesus was saying, I God is God. He doesn't need your money. And I can print money on demand because I'm chilling with God, right? And if the Caesar really needs a coin for tribute, then you can just go catch a fish that God created, and then we'll give him that coin to show him that you're just a man, which is why you need this coin. You see how that works? That's the second example of Jesus killing a fish or telling someone to kill a fish. Then Jesus killed fish a third time when he took 2 fish and fed 5,000 people. Okay. So when people tell me I'm being mean to a fish, I take issue with that, because the very reason why I love fishing is because I follow Jesus' example in my life. You see, it is the devil's doctrines that tell you not to kill animals that you can't eat. And it's funny because people tell me these things, but if all the Walmarts close and all the liquor stores and all the places where you could just go and put money in and get food out, believe me, they would be killing animals to survive. They have the luxury of not killing an animal because they're locked into the beast system with the serpent symbol as the dollar sign. So they're replacing a doctrine of devils for, and it's one thing if if you just don't like to eat meat, that's one thing. But then demonize others and attack others that do eat meat, that's the doctrine of devils, okay? That's what God doesn't like. So, and again, this is not to hate on vegetarians, but When I read that scripture in First Timothy that said that those who abstain from meats, that's a doctrine of devils, I was shocked because I was Seventh-day Adventist for 8 years when I met my first wife and we were married and raised our kids. And we never saw that. Why? Why didn't we ever see that verse? Because in our version of the Bible, the NIV version, they changed the language. Instead of putting meat, they put, what was it? They used a different word in that version. And so what happened was it changed the whole version. Because can you imagine? We're reading through First Timothy and it says, it is a doctrine of devils to, let's pull that up. I'm going to pull that up because I want you guys to know I'm not making this up. Here it is. First Timothy, abstaining from meats. 1 Timothy, abstain. I should memorize. I'm terrible at memorizing. Abstain from meat. Getting hungry. Okay, 1 Timothy 4, King James Version. King James. Now, I don't just go off of one Bible version. I use the mechanical and I use 3 or 4 versions and I go to the Holy Spirit and I find out what the spirit of the text is supposed to be. In this case, we are using the King James Version, and I'm going to read this to you in black and white. Okay. Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter time some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. Doctrines of devils. Hold on, get some water. Now the verse is clear and it's very strong in its language. Speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron, forbidding to marry and commanding to abstain from meats. They're calling this a seducing spirit and doctrine of devils. Now this hits close to home with me because my kids are basically vegetarian because we raised them in the Seventh-day Adventist system. So they were taught that meat was evil. They were terrorized into believing that it was wrong to kill an animal. And there was fear. And there was they were actually convinced that they were doing something wrong to eat a hamburger. That's what this verse is talking about. Which God hath created to be received. God created the meat to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth. This is the truth. 1 Timothy 4, 1 through 3. Don't let anyone ever tell you anything different. Again, some people have preferences that do not want to eat meat, and that's fine. But to go then and tell other people, this is why your world is so screwed up. This is why you die, because you kill animals. I've had some pretty militant vegetarians come on this channel, and I love them. But also, I'm going to speak the truth, you know? Oh, Wilson, do we have a troll in the house? Wilson says, Keiko, I'm done with you. Never knows churches. All right, so here we go. You guys please behave in the comments. I know things can get heated with this kind of subject matter. Look, this isn't meant to divide people. We should all come together in love. I'm just telling you the truth, okay? And I do believe Jennifer has a good point. Yes, if you're going to eat meat, make sure you know where it comes from, okay? Because you can't just go and eat any meat because it could be bad for you, you know? Again, this goes back to a lot of what I do. My meat comes out of the ocean. Mostly, I eat fish. Yeah, there's the Fukushima threat, but I've watched this closely since 2011. We had a wasting disease of the starfish that did happen. We also had the anchovies and the sardines took a big hit. They actually had to close the fishery on those. And that's a bait fish that all fish eat and sea lions. But see, here's what happens when they start screwing with the ecosystem, okay? Like when they start protecting certain species. Like Our elephant seals are going out of control. We have too many elephant seals. So then what happens? They eat the sardines and the anchovies, and they eat too many. Okay. This is why the Bible calls us a doctrine of devils, because you're trying to subvert God's natural order. And when you do that, things go out of control. So, like, we had a bunch of sea lion pups die. Why? Probably there were too many of them and there was disease. There's no other reason why they should have been dying. They were protected. They're never hunted. Gosh, if you get caught killing a sea lion, like, who would want to kill a sea lion, right? Most people wouldn't, but some Native American peoples lived off of these kinds of things. Okay. But as soon as you start putting controls on certain species and protecting others, you subvert God's plan. And then everything goes out of control. It's like you're double guessing God, basically. And if Jesus said I could eat fish, I'm going to eat fish. God wouldn't have put those stories in the Bible to just confuse us. It's cut and dry. Okay. But we're not supposed to judge each other by what we eat or drink. There's another scripture that says that as well. So this isn't a judgment. I'm just telling you, what I've found, you guys. All right. So what else do we have here in the chat? Yeah, I saw a movie on the dolphins. It was out of Japan. And there was something like some bay in Japan where they were killing the dolphins and eating the dolphin meat. It was kind of sad, I don't think dolphins fall under the clean meats. So it's probably wrong to kill a dolphin, I would think, and eat it. Anyway, what else do we have here? Don't start with dolphins. Those are better, worse than dogs. Buddha Girl's like, no, we're not eating dolphins. Yeah, I agree with you. I wouldn't eat a dolphin. Callie says he judges Asian. I won't eat anything from contaminated ocean. I still eat meat, but gave up unclean food. Pork, not so hard, but shrimp was tough. Yeah. It's weird. Wilson was like he gave up shrimp. I agree with you. Shrimp used to taste different. Now, if I do eat shrimp, it tastes kind of dirty. It's not the same as it used to be. It's like everything's gotten worse. And so, yeah, I'm not a big shrimp fan anymore. I used to be. Yeah. Let's see here. Meats for survive. I believe they probably ate a lot less meat back then because it's just hard. It's hard to kill something. You got to hunt it, and probably ate a lot less meat back then, So they probably were mainly vegetarian, but then they had once a week, maybe they had meat, So, yeah. And what happens, that would happen to my kids too. Jennifer said meat makes her stomach hurt. After you don't eat it for a while, your body gets used to it. I was actually vegetarian for about 9 months, maybe close to a year. I tried it. It was back in like 98, maybe 97, 98. We were vegetarian for like a year because we were all into the Seventh-day Adventist Church and all the potlucks and all that. And the kids at school, they would only give them vegetarian food. But the crazy thing is, for those of you that are vegetarian, you start to understand that you have to basically be eating all day, and you have to eat very nutrient-rich foods. In other words, you can't just survive off potato casseroles and cheese. A lot of cheese is used in the Seventh-day Adventist religion. And then what happens with the kids is they get used to eating. How do I explain this? They don't like vegetables to begin with. And so what happens is they just start focusing on the stuff that just has hardly any nutrients in it. Like there's this thing they used to serve called haystacks, which are really good, actually. Haystacks are really good. It's like a vegetarian nachos, right? You put like, the corn chips. I'm probably going to make you guys hungry right now. You're probably going to go out and buy all this stuff. Corn chips is the base. You put those on the bottom. These are called haystacks. And you cover it with hot, like beans, like vegetarian beans. Sometimes they'll put like sour cream, and then they'll put like I forgot the name of that stuff. It's like fake meat. You fry it. It kind of smells like meat-ish. And then they put lettuce, tomatoes on top, maybe avocados if you have it, and then cheese. Okay. Now, that's about the healthiest thing I've ever seen a Seventh-day Adventist eat in terms of a kid or a teenager. They love haystacks, but all those things I just described to you are not necessarily nutrient rich. Okay. Especially if you throw in there iceberg lettuce instead of like spinach. I've never seen haystacks made with spinach. It's always like iceberg lettuce or romaine, you know. So now when you add some meat on top of that, some real meat, now you get your protein, some of your other stuff. But my son basically lives on haystacks. He goes to a boarding school, which I don't pay for. His mom pays for it, but up in southern, like San Francisco area. He goes to boarding school up there. It's an Adventist boarding school, and I don't see him very often, but that's what he does. And they only feed him vegetarian food, you know. I guess he's growing. He is growing. He was pretty tall last time I saw him. But then you begin to wonder, you know. You begin to wonder what the ramifications are of this after the scripture that I just read to you. All right. Quinoa is almost there, but not complete. Oh, yum. I've got some pesto quinoa but it's got trout in it, so it doesn't qualify, Cindy. All right. Now I'm getting hungry too. Sheena says, I make layered 16 different veggie salad. Yes. What else do we have in here? Kraft changed their mac and cheese. Yeah, they changed that a long time ago, Josie. Their mac and cheese is lame now. Usually I'll accent the mac and cheese. I'll like add my own cheese in there. Maybe some sour cream. Another thing I like to do is steam broccoli and put that in with the mac and cheese. So you get your steamed broccoli. Yeah. Jennifer says he'll be okay. Yeah, he's tall. My son's tall. He's been vegetarian probably most of his life. He never really did like meat, you know, because he went from start to finish at the Adventist school. So let's see what else. I'm having fun talking to you guys today. Casey, you're killing me. I still haven't left for a breaky. What? Wait. Let me scroll up in the chat here. Paul Panda. So tomorrow, first thing in the morning, I'm going to go pick up my friend. I got a different friend who used to be my neighbor. We're going to go up to Kachuma Lake or down to Kachuma Lake and try to catch some trout. Figs. Let's see what else. Here we go. Fake meat sucks. Yeah. We used to do this when I was Adventist. We used to do this thing called Taco Tuesday. And the guy who put it on, he wasn't vegetarian, but then everyone else that showed up was vegetarian. Okay. Well, except for a few people. So he had two pans. He had a pan with the fake, what do they call that? Oh, I got to remember the name. Oh man, what's that stuff called? It's fake ground beef, basically. You would have the pan with that, and then you would have the pan with the real meat. Now, since then, I have understood that people that don't eat meat, they don't even like the smell of meat. Like it makes them like physically ill. So the fact that he's frying this hamburger meat in the pan alongside the real meat was kind of hilarious. Because people, now I get it. People were all like kind of upset, you know? They were getting free food, but they were like still upset. There was beef frying in the pan. I can't remember. It wasn't tofurkey, Sheena. It was, I can't remember the name of that stuff. The Adventists know this front and back. It's like very popular. It's basically fake ground beef. And what does it come in? Does it come in a can? Can't remember now. Gosh, it's been so many years. So, but I will tell you, there were times where I would eat the fake beef in the taco. Oh, it's everything else that's in the taco that tastes good, right? The meat is kind of the last little savory piece that kind of brings the taco together. But I'd be in there sometimes helping and frying the shells in the oil. You know, we went all out. Then we had all the toppings for these tacos. Taco Tuesday. And man, gosh, it'd actually be fun to make tacos today. See, I don't know anybody out here, you guys. I don't really have many friends. You guys are my friends. So I don't really have people to go, do this kind of stuff with. Wish some of you guys lived closer and we'd be hanging out, do a video, go fishing, and then make tacos. That'd be fun, huh? Taco Bell. It's just not the same, though. It's not the same. Taco Bell. All right. So you don't have to eat fake meats, just beans and tons of things. Lentils, yes. But few kids eat like that. That's the problem. Few kids eat like that. They can't eat all that vegetables. And so I feel like they're malnutritioned. Error 404. I like that avatar name. 404 verses in Revelation times 22 chapters, or I'm sorry, 22 chapters equals, guess what? 8,888. Take that to the bank. That's not an accident. Is the fish free from radiation, says Margita. We'll find out in about 10 years, won't we? If I have this YouTube channel, if I start growing a third ear, or, no, I think they're fine, you guys. I'm a firm believer that there was an impact on the ocean with Fukushima. But like I said, I've been watching this. Prayers to Grooms, 777, going through some personal stuff. Prayers to you, my friend, and sorry I haven't been able to reach out to you. It's been crazy. Just got home a few hours ago. Yeah, I've been watching this since 2011. And man, when those starfish started dying off, I was very concerned. And in certain ways, it does feel like a third of the oceans has already died. I mean, all of the fish populations are down. But as you saw in that video, I mean, I pulled out, my friend got skunked that day, by the way. He was really upset. Sometimes I think God speaks to us. He validates us in our own little weird way. He wants us to know that we're on the right track. And my friend's more of a skeptic. I love him, but he's more of a skeptic. He thinks all this is coincidence. He'll listen to me, but I don't push it on him. And that day, he didn't catch one fish, and I caught 5 fish. And I think that was kind of like God's little way of going, I'm going to bless your fishing video, because that was my first fishing video. And anytime I go out, you guys, I don't know if I'm going to catch fish. That's how it is. You just don't know if you're going to catch fish. You may or may not catch fish. And that day I caught 5, and I caught 3 different species. And I think it was God going, I'm with you, brother. And of course, my message always points back to Christ and God, the cycle of life. Manga asks what the 88 means. Gosh, there's so much, Manga. It's like hard to even go into. I was born on the 88th day of the year, March 29th. Then we had that big scare with 9/23. Everybody thought the world was going to end on 9/23. Well, 9/23 is 3/29 backwards. And then David Bowie says in the film Labyrinth, at 9/23, you'll all be mine. Then he died the next year after we decoded that film. Okay. There's something in the spiritual realm that hardly anybody sees. It's like eyes to see, right? It's not a scary thing. It's actually builds your faith, because you realize that there's so much more to this life than what we expect. I'm working on a video now. Um, I believe that where I live now is some kind of vortex. You guys have seen all the chaos that's happened out my front door with the car wrecks. I had 2 car accidents in the last 3 months, and I posted videos on this. One came through, they were within 15 yards of my front door. One almost hit my car. The other one was a 3-car pileup right at this intersection here. But then when I look out my window and in my backyard, it's like a bear. It's like where I'm at the cusp of some kind of, it's hard to explain. There's order and then there's chaos. And out my window, I've seen miracles. I saw a baby bobcat. It was amazing. Right out my window, I got it on camera. I'm putting together this video. Deer coming right up into my backyard. Blue jay built a nest right outside this window. Cows, they've got the whole pasture, but they come right up to my window. And so out my window, I've seen probably 25 different species of large animals, which is pretty amazing. But then you juxtapose that to the chaos that's happening outside my front door, and the horns honking, and train going by, and the motorcycles, the loud motorcycles. Can you see the mirror? It's like a mirror. It's like I'm living at the edge of a mirror. And then about 25 yards away from me, there's a sign that says, "Welcome to Santa Margarita, 1887." And just talk to you about 88. I should look into that, because maybe it was like December 31st, 1887. Maybe it was like when you converted to the other calendar, it was 1888, you know? Now, did I choose this place? No. This was the first place I looked at in Craigslist. I showed up. I think I had $2,000 in my pocket. I told the landlord I want this place, and he gave it to me. He didn't do a background check. He didn't look at my credit, nothing. It's yours. God has a strange way of putting us where we need to be so that we can find the truth, you know? And maybe he thought I needed to be here for the work that I do, you know? All right. Let's look in the chat here. I want to see that, Casey. Yes, I'll have that up, Mr. 007. I'll have that up. I'm kind of adding to it. The baby bobcat, like if you look at it, it almost looks like a regular cat, but I saw it with my own eyes, and it was a bobcat. And I was a little worried when I walked outside, because I walked outside and got more footage, but I was like, okay, if there's a baby bobcat there, there's a mom around somewhere. And those bobcats and mountain lions, they get pretty big. Some of those mountain lions get a couple 100 pounds around here, and they could take you out. People have been killed and attacked by mountain lions. So that's where I was at with that. But I did get him. I got him through a screen, and he jumped on something. And I've gotten footage of deer and, and some other stuff. But, as time goes by, that's one of the projects I'm working on. All right. Yeah, it does kind of look like a camping area. That was the thing that attracted me to it, was the backyard. Hopefully when the weather gets a little nicer up here, I'll be back there, maybe barbecuing. I do have like a little smoker that my mom bought for me. I'll smoke some fish and different things. But welcome to California. My landlord says I'm not allowed to have any visitors. And that's kind of sad, because if I do make a friend, I would want to be hospitable and have them come over and make food for them, or something. But I'm really not allowed to have, he called it guests, so I guess it's like an overnight guest, technically. All right, what else do we have in here? Looking through the chat. Thanks for all this, you guys, and I appreciate you guys coming out. Great show. But I didn't miss any of your comments. Yeah, front and rear. Isn't that weird? Oh, yeah, Paul Panna says front and rear. So it's like the opposite. It's like the eye, like looking out, which is the way we think we're supposed to look, is what deceives us. And looking within is where the truth is, right? So you're absolutely right, like a portal of some type. Wow. Thanks, Elias. He says, thanks for all you do. What else do we have in here? Josie says, probably means just nobody living with you for extended, yeah, for like overnights and stuff. That's the only bummer about this place. So I may end up moving eventually, because I do like to have friends over sometimes to hang out. I don't have money to really put someone up in a hotel. So, yeah. All right. Well, you guys, I could sit on here and talk all day, but then I would take up your whole day. And that would be Kiko Landzik says, does Casey believe in reincarnation? I'm always skeptical about things that aren't mentioned in the Bible. Not to say that things that aren't mentioned in the Bible can't be real or true. The Bible does say there's nothing new under the sun. And we've seen that real time on this channel. We've seen events transcend generations. In other words, we've seen events synchronize across decades, centuries, and millennia. We've compared situations in the Bible to current situations. And that's nuts to me. Now, some people claim to have recollection of past lives. I don't know. I've never really had that recollection. I can tell you this. I can tell you that my eyes are not fixed on this plane anymore. They're fixed on heaven. And it's crazy because, some people call that, sadomasochistic or negative or, but Jesus tells us, keep your eyes fixed on heaven. My followers are not of this world. Again, so when people tell you you're not living in reality, you can tell them that's an Antichrist statement. No, so what do you mean? Christ said we're not part of this world and we're to keep our eyes fixed on heaven. So you're saying the opposite of that. That's Antichrist, you see. And sometimes people, even Christians, will tell you these things. They don't understand that their statements are Antichrist. I feel much more at peace keeping my eyes fixed on heaven because this world doesn't make any sense to me. It really doesn't. Everything's backwards. Everything's backwards. And so what happens is it's confusing because the sweet and kind and humble and meek people on this planet get run over, downtrodden, sick, used and abused, unrecognized, taken for granted, not seen as attractive. Whereas the jerks, the a-holes, the cocky, stubborn, inaccessible, unavailable people are the ones that move forward in this society, in this reality. It's all backwards. So my question becomes, soon this will all be over. So you have a choice. You stand your ground and you be the Christ-like spirit that God wants you to be, or you turn like the world is. You become all those negative attributes that I just described to you. I tried to be that guy. Tried to fake my confidence. Tried to have a look. Tried to dress a certain way to impress people. Tried to brag about my job. It was so unnatural. It just didn't feel right. And then I was like, I'm going to settle into who I am, who God created me to be. And that's a kind, loving, meek person. And if people don't like that, screw them, because I know where I'm going. I'm not going to give in to being a jerk because that's how people get respect and move forward in this plane. You see? So, like I said, if it's not mentioned in the Bible, I tend not to want to speculate on reincarnation because it's not mentioned in the Bible. But it does say there's nothing new under the sun. Now, how does that translate into lives? I don't know. But events, it's pretty clear, they keep reoccurring because there's nothing new under the sun. Or at least you could speculate that that could be what the verse means. I don't know. I don't remember a specific life before this one, but I do feel like I'm not part of this world. So where am I supposed to be? You know, we do know that life and death are moments that we've identified on this channel as very important moments that seem to synchronize with a lot of things. Those portals, the coming in and going out of the life into this realm, are pivotal moments. Of course, God controls that. God controls when you're born and he controls when you die. So isn't it amazing that we found these dates of these things synchronized with things? Now, remember, the devil is the father of the lie, and he will try to confuse all this. And I believe many of these actors are given new birthdays when they sign to give the appearance that the devil is in control, you see? So we have to be careful with that as well. So, okay, Chaz has to go. Much love to Chaz. Yeah, I mean, let's see here. Looking through the chat. All right, you guys, I should probably get off of here. I've been on here for quite some time. Hopefully we peeled back some of the questions about Prince and what was going on with that. And we can kind of get a little bit closer to the truth about that. It'll be interesting to find out if anyone could find that local news story in which they spoke about the People's Organic Restaurant or Cafe, in which they were talking about the chef being the personal chef for the Queen of England. And also we do know he was the personal chef for Prince because he admitted it. That would be the bombshell right there. So keep your eyes peeled, you guys. Much love to you. If any of you guys find that, just go ahead and send it on to me. Much love. Take care and be safe, you guys.